You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Sit back and enjoy the show. What's up, everyone? Paul Paslakis here. Looks like I'm all by myself now. We've got everybody here. We've got Salvatore Kuzmano. We've got Brad Weisgerber. How are you guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I miss you guys.
Good morning.
Wow, you sound great, man. You just
what do you mean? No. Do I sound bad?
All right, so so today we got a special episode, man. We got Christian Grothe on the call on the show today. He is like not underground, but he's just like quietly like one of the best agents in our area that like doesn't do like he's not all over the place. He doesn't have like billboards everywhere, but he does a lot of really high end, has got a great reputation, does a really good business. So I really wanted to bring him on today and talk about what he's seeing in the market. I also wanted to talk about kind of what we're feeling as far as the purchase market. We had a big influx of applications after COVID. I want to talk to maybe Sal and see if he's seeing a leveling off or if he's seeing still an incline. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about, the future of the market. Do we see it like continuing as on this hot streak, or do we kind of see things kind of leveling off? And do we worry about what happens if there's another round of COVID? But first and foremost, to all our fans, everybody that reaches out, to everybody that listens to the show, we really appreciate all the feedback and everybody taking the time to listen to what we've done. Our show's grown quite a bit. We've got a lot of downloads compared to where we were 2 years. So thank you to everyone. Go to IRE Podcast, go to Stitcher, go to your iTunes, go to any podcast app. We'll be there and spend some time with us and learn about real estate, and hopefully we'll have some fun. But first and foremost, let's bring up Christian Grothe onto the show. Christian, thank you so much for doing the show. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. The first thing I did, I was on the phone with my billboard person. I'm going to get a billboard right outside of your office just because you said that.
That's what I want to do. I want to see your face outside. I mean, I see your house every day.
I want to be the first thing you wake up to every morning. There's going to be
one in front
of your office and in front of your house now. I'm pulling up.
You're going to get one in front of my house. You're going to get one of those like trucks that like just park in front of my house.
It's just going to sit in your driveway all day long. Get ready. I'm coming after you.
That's fucking sweet, dude. So, Christian, thank you for doing the show, man. I know you don't do a lot of this stuff. Really, it's not really your thing. Like, you're not really you don't do commercials really a lot. I mean, you do some marketing. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as if to say that you're like you don't go for the you're not trying to inundate people with your marketing. I think you've built your business, and I'll let you talk about it. Really based on reputation and referral base, which we always think is the healthiest way to build any career in any business, really, where you're got commissions or you're trying to build a business. So talk to us first of all. How did you get into real estate, man? Like, you're a smart guy. You're obviously doing really well. You're kind of going into this entrepreneurial thing now, but like, how did real estate kind of like fall into your life? Nobody really wakes up one day and says, "I want to be a real estate agent."
You know, that's actually a good question. Thank you for all the kind words. I did wake up one day and I decided that I don't want to have a boss. So what really ended up happening is I got 100 different bosses all at the same time, because essentially in real estate, you're obviously, you're always trying to take great care of your clients, and you are working really hard out there, which you learn that over the years. But it's been a really cool journey where I feel that I can add so much value to people's lives. I know I'm not a person that is necessarily out there with all the new age video media always. I still believe in a lot of the old school stuff. I actually send a lot of snail mail. We do a fair amount of stuff on Facebook now, certainly, but it's a lot of referral business. And my theory has always been, if you do a great job for people, they will come back to you and they will send all their friends and family.
Yeah, it's kind of like how, Sal, I think Sal is like that. Sal doesn't, like, I'm on all this stuff. I do all the videos, and Sal really has never done that. Sal has kind of just done really fucking good work, right? He takes really good care of his clients. He takes really good care of his real estate agents, and he has built his business based on his reputation. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we do a lot of advertising. We do a lot of stuff on the backside to give like air cover, but ultimately it comes down to, and Sal, you can talk about this, Sal, it comes down to like your performance and making sure that your clients are happy. And that's ultimately how we've built our business, and you've built your business, really, right? Oh shit, we can't hear you, Salvatore.
Yeah.
Are you muted?
Yeah, no,
oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, if you build a foundation about just doing the right thing, I mean, the building will grow, right? And every year, it's almost like it just rolls harder and harder as you put together more referrals and a system of trust. Really, I mean, I feel like if people trust you, I mean, you can't really go wrong. And obviously, getting the word out on top of that helps, but it's more or less building a network, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Christian, like now in today's world, I'm sure, and I don't know if you just you're more in the high end range, right? A lot of your clients are a couple $1 million and up, and that's kind of what you're not focused on, but that's kind of what you do, right? That's your circle. Did you start there, or did you? How did you like get going? You know what I mean?
And I have to be honest here. So we do some of that business, and that is amazing. We certainly enjoyed that price range, and we've helped a lot of clients. But really, I'm all over the map. I would love to help you buy and sell houses in Ferndale and Oak Park. We do it in Birmingham. We do it in Bloomfield. So I think in the last year, I've ranged sales price wise from 150 to well over $4 or $5 million. So we're kind of all over the place. But I think what I've seen really in the last 2-3 years is that my high-end business has really taken off. And I think as your clients grow older with you, some of these people I've sold $300,000-$400,000 houses to. I then sold a $500,000-$600,000 house, and they're now upgrading to a couple $1 million home. And it's kind of fun to have worked with people for the second, third, some even fourth time in the last 12, 13 years. And I'm super thankful that people just keep coming back and giving me the opportunity to help them.
So what do you think sets you apart, Christian? Why do you think people do come back? Because a lot of real estate agents have a problem with that, right? Somebody will use a real estate agent once, and then they'll go to either sell their house or buy a house, and they get a call from someone, or another real estate agent knocks on their door, or they had put their house up for sale by. Like, how do you get to how do you leave that mark on your people that they want to come back and work with Christian?
That's probably the key question in the whole business, is just that. I think if you really crush it for them the first time around, they will remember that, they will come back. And it's under promising, over delivering, not to sound cheesy, but it's just really going out the extra mile. I answer my phone at 10 at night, at 11 at night, early again in the morning. There's times where I probably should have more boundaries, but it's a tough thing to do in our business. I think it's absolutely negotiating every last item to where it's absolutely maxed out. And I think people, at the end of the day, when they see that you did absolutely everything and sometimes more, I really do think that they remember that. So what I'm really fortunate for is when I've worked with someone, I think there's a really high chance they're going to come back. I certainly try to stay in touch with them also, but I've got a great rate of people coming back and people referring their friends and family. So that's been huge over the years. How do you guys do that? What's the key in your business? Because I know people constantly talk about you guys, come back to you guys. What's your secret?
Client experience, man. I think Sal could talk to this. Is we want to make sure. Well, we have 3 clients, Christian, right? Us as a mortgage company, we have the client who's buying or refinancing or getting the actual mortgage, right? We have our referral partner, so they have to walk away really happy, right? They've got to walk away like Omega Lending did a really good job. And then we have our internal people, and they have to feel supported to be able to do and give service to everybody that they're working with. But ultimately, Christian, I think that's a really poignant question. It is client experience. If you leave them with a very great taste in their mouth, right? You have earned now the right to reach back out to them and say, hey, how are things going, right? And having that acute attention to what they need instead of what we want to do for them is very, very, I think, maybe different, because we listen, right? We listen to what our realtors want. We listen to what our people want. And we listen to what our clients want. And then we act on that, right? It's not good enough just to like listen, but it's what action are you taking in conjunction with that, right? Like, what are you doing to take that? So
yeah,
not very different from you, Christian.
For example, like a purchase agreement, right? Like that outlines the boundaries essentially, or the limits of the transaction, right? Like, hey, we are going to close on July 31st, right? But then you hear that the seller wants to go out of town or the buyer wants to close early, and you do everything you can to make sure that not only is that buyer happy, right, but that seller is too, because that then creates a smooth closing, happy people, and everyone does remember that when you kind of went that extra mile to make sure, hey, contract was to close on a Tuesday, we made it happen the Friday before so they could all move in, right? Like things like that, or making the extra calls late at night when people are worried, like you said, like 10, 11 p.m. It's like, yeah, I know you're probably pretty busy tomorrow too, so I'll just take this call and we'll just go over it, right? Girlfriend doesn't like it, but you got to do what you got to do.
No,
right?
yeah. Well, and Christian, you nailed it. We've got a poster in our office, and we've had it up there since the very beginning. And it was one of the first like marketing pieces we did for we just said it has a phone on it and says we answer the phone. And if you answer the phone, you're already ahead. In my opinion, ahead of 90% of people just for answering the phone. Like that's the barrier of entry in our business. Sometimes that's how unfortunately. I had a mentor that used to say this: in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Like, I don't have to outrun the bear; I have to outrun you. And when the competition sometimes, unfortunately, in our industry, isn't as high as a lot of are the barrier of. But then again, that top 10%, that's the nut that you have to now. How do you get to the 5%, the 2%, right? So, but that it's phone is really the number one key.
And I think what's so interesting out there, even on the agent side, I can name so many agents that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month on Zillow and on all these platforms that are going to get them leads. But when the phone rings, they don't actually answer. When they sign up when they sign up the listing, the client doesn't really get service, and if the house doesn't sell in the first 90 days, they're probably going to end up listing with someone else. I think there's quite a few of those agents out there. But I think people like that also give people that are really serious about their business the opportunity to capture some of those leads, because a lot of times they're not happy with who they're working with, and I think once they see the other side of the equation, that they're actually impressed with what's out there in the industry, even if they've had a bad experience previously.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. The whole leads thing. Here's the thing about leads, and Brad, you know this because we built lead shops over at Shore and a few other places. Managing leads is time consuming, and it takes a lot of like actual focus on those leads, right? It's not I got 1,000 leads. It's exhausting. You've got 1,000 leads. You got to call them. You got to call them at night. You got to follow up. But what real estate agents sometimes don't think about is, I want as many leads as possible. Well, what good is it if you can't work those leads, right? Yeah. What good is it if you don't have a system by which you can convert? And then they ask companies like us to co-market with them and pay for half the leads. And we do it with like good partners and we have good relationships. But ultimately, I found this, that very few agents actually can do well on these lead systems. Very few.
It's a waste.
Very few. So,
yeah,
I don't think it's a waste of money. Some people do well.
Some people do well.
Some people do.
But in general, there's no real, for the most part, there's some shops out there that do really well at them. But for the most part, there's no system. There's no strategy behind the leads. It's just, I want leads, and we'll have people call them. Well, how do you know people are calling them? Do you have a system? Does it automatically call? Like, it's a giant waste, in my opinion, and a lot of money is wasted on leads that aren't getting serviced. Or it's an opportunity for someone else to get a better system.
Christian,
I think a lot of agents should be growing their business organically, because long term, if you grow a really good organic referral type business, it will reward you for years, for decades to come. And I think the lead business, it's a really cash intense, constant proving yourself the first time over, and I think that it's much better to have a long-standing relationship with someone. I think that's the right way to do business long term.
I agree, Christian. Here's the thing I always say, like marketing or leads or whatever you decide to do, you got to do it and execute on it. It's all about execution, right? But my whole thing is, what happens if the leads go away? You're married to them now. Like if those, like, the lead should be supplemental to your referral business if you want to do it that way, right? It shouldn't be lead first then referral business. You should be building your sphere and supplementing with these to get you going. That's kind of what we're doing in our business with our leads. But at the same time, it's like, I know that agents or loan officers aren't going to call these leads. Like, not. They're out there on the field, and I don't even want them really. I don't want a call center, Christian. I don't. we are generating a lot of leads. So what we do is we created an automated system by which the client gets a text, they get an email, then a few days later they get another text, and if they raise their hand and they say, I want to talk, cool, we'll talk. Otherwise, you know,
Let's not give away all the secrets here, Paul.
well, I'm just saying, like, why not automate that? I believe we can automate that. We might not catch as many because we're not chasing them down like a quicken, but again, they're supplemental, right? They're not your main mode of business. So, you know, it just depends on how you look at it. So, Christian, let's move off that, because I mean, obviously we know we've talked about a lot of stuff ad nauseum, but I'm more curious today in your market. Like, I talked to you maybe like a week ago, and you're like, dude, it's crazy. Like, I am getting calls. Like, I'm my head spinning. Talk to me what happened coming out of COVID and where you are today, kind of that transition, because it was like a rubber band, dude. It like snapped.
It was so interesting to see because, you know, there was so much debate during COVID of what was going to happen next. I was getting a lot of phone calls from clients who were saying, well, I can't, you know, wait for COVID to be over. We're going to be able to buy a house at 50% off. And people were really convinced that the market was going to be terrible. And, you know, I thought the market would at least be decent. I'll be honest, I didn't predict it to be this absolutely insanely strong as it is currently. But I mean, we really came out of COVID better than how we went into COVID, which is a little bit tough for me to understand still, but it is definitely happening. We're listing houses, we're getting multiple offers, we're getting bids above asking, we're getting some appraisal waivers written in. So this is one of the strongest markets I've seen in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
And we've had strong markets in that time period, Christian. We had really strong markets.
Oh, I know. There've been some really strong markets, but this to me almost feels like 2013, 2014, especially when I look at some of the core Woodward corridor markets. If I'm looking at Royal Oak, Ferndale, Berkeley, Birmingham, Bloomfield, all those areas are just doing tremendously well. And what's interesting is even on some of my high-end listings, you know, we had a listing recently for $1.2 million. We still got multiple offers. We sold it for 1.35, and this wasn't a listing that was underpriced by any means. So it's fascinating to see, and that certainly I don't think would have happened prior to COVID. So I think we came out of COVID with extremely low interest rates. I think we came out with, interestingly, a fair amount of consumer confidence. I certainly think we came out with pent-up demand. Being shut down for those 2 months, I think, is creating a tremendous amount of demand currently. And I think the last factor is that it's the first time as a society that we had a chance to sit back and actually think, where do we want to live? How do we want to live? Does living where we live currently make sense? You know, I live in a condo, which I think is the greatest thing. I've got a direct sight line to your office, which is a lot of fun to watch you guys on the patio. But
yeah, that's nice. That's creepy, dude.
Missing a basement now. You know, during COVID, I would have enjoyed a basement. I would have enjoyed a yard. So I think a lot of people woke up and said it would be interesting to make some type of a change, and I think we're seeing that reflected in the market currently.
You know, it's interesting. I'll go ahead, Brad.
I was just saying, are you? So you say we made it through COVID, but there's a lot of talk out there about a second wave. There's spiking numbers in other states. Are you concerned at all about the end of this summer or the fall, or how that's going to affect coming out of such a hot market? What's that going to do if we have another second wave?
You know, I'm always concerned. I mean, obviously the primary concern has to be people's health and safety has to always be the primary concern. But I think even if a second wave hits, I think if real estate, if we are an essential service and the mortgage industry, and I think if we're operational, if you give us a chance to some degree show houses and actually sell houses, I think we're going to be in a strong market for really the rest of the year, foreseeable future. I think there's opportunity in certain market segments. You know, I sell a ton of condos and lofts in Royal Oak, in the city of Detroit. That's one of the things I've been really passionate about. And I have to be honest, that's a market that's a little bit slower currently. Single family residential is just insanely strong right now. So I think some of those condo buyers, you can actually get some value, you can get a good deal. And I think we're just in a part of the market cycle where there's a greater opportunity for those buyers. And I think that's going to change again. Also, what's interesting is years ago, everyone was moving from Royal Oak to Detroit. I'm now getting the first wave of phone calls of people who moved to Detroit who are now looking to move back, who said that was a great experience, but I want to be a little bit closer to, maybe work or their family,
that's interesting.
where they want to be.
That's really interesting because, because I know a buddy of mine who has rentals in Royal Oak, and he lost renters to Detroit, right? They were like, we're not that far from Detroit. Detroit's hopping. Yeah. We want to go to Detroit. But potentially these people, that's interesting that you say that, because I've thought about that. Are people going to start moving back to the suburbs? Not suburbs, but Royal Oak's a nice downtown area, but are we going to see more people go out to Novi or Macomb or want more land? But because you nailed it, right? I had been quoted as saying people are finally living in their homes, right? And they're either loving their home and they're going to start fixing it up. That's why we're seeing Home Depot and all these people like blowing up. Like, hey, I like my house. I'm gonna make it nice. Like, I'm doing that. I was like, I was gonna move, but now I kind of like it, right? But other people are like, man, I do not want to live here, right? If you're in a condo, for instance, and you got no windows, and you're like, fuck that, I want out of here, right? So it is super interesting. But to your point, I do believe demand's gonna be high, because listen, this is how I think of it personally. We made it through a really big shakeup with COVID. It was an abrupt stop. Like, we hit a wall, right? It was a car crash, and liquidity in the mortgage market stopped, and we had all these systematic issues, and we worked through them, and we figured it out. And then coming out of it, there was more demand, right? So, like, if we have another shutdown, Brad, to your point, to Christian's point, if we have the ability to conduct business, the appetite will still be there, I think, because again, I don't think that changes. Again, if there is another shutdown, again, people are in their houses and like, fuck this, I want out of this thing, right? Or whatever it may be, whatever they're thinking. So I do agree with you, Christian, in that regard. I don't think, as long as we don't have any like crazy economic things happen, I think the housing market is really, really enduring well through everything. So I totally agree with that.
And
go ahead.
It probably comes
what's
down
interesting
to
here too is, and you kind of hear this in the car business. Some of my buddies who own car dealerships, they're selling a crazy number of cars, and a lot of people are buying sports cars for the summer. And also, I think a lot of people simply haven't spent a lot of money as they usually would. We haven't been out to dinners. We haven't been on vacation. That's a great point. I couldn't believe it when my credit card statement comes in and I spent like $200. I mean, where did that? My spending is down. I don't know how much, but it's insane. So I think that some of this may also translate into people saying, hey, I want a fun car for the summer. I want maybe a bigger house. I want to finish my basement. I want to do something fun at my property just to try to enhance it and make it even more livable. So I think we're seeing that. And what's interesting is it's actually difficult to find contractors currently. So many people are renovating parts of their house or finishing their basement. It's really hard to get that stuff done currently.
Yeah, dude, that's an interesting point and Brad, Sal, I haven't really thought of that. Cause like, let's put it this way. Like, I was going to take my family to Greece this summer, right? It's not a cheap trip all together. I always, like, in my head, I'm like, it's 10 G's, like 5 G's for the tickets and whatever it is when I'm there. Right. And I have places to stay. So, at 10 G's that I was going to spend on that trip is not being spent now. Right. Those restaurants, visits. But DoorDash is getting really racked up. But those restaurant visits and all these other things, like you're not spending that money, to your point. And I think I do have more money in my bank account than I probably would have had there been COVID. Is that as odd as that sounds, right? A lot of people lost their jobs, and I feel bad for those people. Those industries are hurting. A buddy of mine asked me the other day, he's like, how with this job loss is the housing market doing so well? And I had a stark reality that I kind of said to him. It's like, unfortunately, John, my buddy John, the people that lost the hospitality industries and these industries that potentially lost their jobs, a lot of those people weren't people that were buying homes anyways. A lot of those were renters, right? So the population of people that were actually buying homes weren't in those industries, really, unfortunately. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like there's a lot of servers that do well, that do end up buying houses, but they're not the population, generally speaking, that are buying or in the market to buy a house all the time, right? So although the unemployment is high, I believe the sector where it's the highest is not the sector that affects home purchases as much. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's
Yeah,
harder to
I
qualify.
totally agree. I think that unemployment is still going to be an issue, but the amount of demand there's out there and the supply that is not meeting the demand
I'm glad you brought that
is
up.
really, I mean, the demand is outpacing supply by, I think, a pretty wide margin. So even with the unemployment, we just have so much demand. I mean, unfortunately, and I certainly hope we're going in the other direction from what I'm about to say, but I think there could be 10-15% more unemployment, and we would interestingly not see a big effect on the housing market locally here. And certainly, hopefully, we're traveling in the other direction now. But
yeah,
Right.
I think
I don't disagree with you.
If 90% of the people lost their job, and that means that 10% of the population was, let's just say, qualified buyers, if there's 8% of people selling, there's still more demand, right? So it doesn't really matter if how many people lose their job. It just matters, like you said, buyers versus sellers. Is there more buyers than there are?
Going into COVID, I what's that? Oh, you got that thing up, Natalia? Look at that. So housing market needs more sellers, buyers, real estate expert, right? So this is a common theme across the country that you know, the demand is there, the supply is not existent right now, bro. It's like people that like their houses, the nice houses, they're not selling their houses right now, potentially, or whatever it may be. But there is definitely. Do you see builders like really ramping up, or do you even see that? Like, I don't know how we fix the supply issue. How do because we don't. I'm not seeing that change, but I'm seeing all these millennials getting into the market now that have done really well financially, save their money, because millennials are savers now, right? They've gone through some really traumatic 2008. Now they've got this. These millennials have been shaped by potentially these crises, and they've been doing, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of them are doing a good job saving their money, getting good jobs, and looking to buy houses. How do we meet that demand as in the real estate market? How does that even happen?
Yeah, and I think we're going to start seeing, obviously, the northern suburbs get developed more and more. You know, you can see such a big move out to Oakland Township, Shelby Township, Romeo. I think a lot of the farmland there is going to be subdivisions at some point in the next 10, 15, 20 years, because certainly the frustrating part being a realtor in the Woodward corridor area is there's just no land left. You know, if you're going to build something new, you typically have to tear something down.
That's a tear down, yeah.
You know, there's so few lots that have never contained a structure previously. So I think I think we're going to continue to find neighborhoods where we can tear houses down, where we can build, and unfortunately, I think a lot of these markets are just going to get pricier over time. You know, like, did we see Royal Oak having consistent sales at the 600,000 plus mark? Did we even imagine that 10, 12 years ago? I certainly didn't. And now 600K is not even top of the market for Royal Oak anymore. Now you can find houses certainly all the way up to $1 million that are actually, you know, viable, selling. There's enough buyers for that type of product. So I think that change is going to come to more and more of these core areas on the Woodward corridor, because to me it seems like a lot of the Woodward corridor has been the most desirable over the years, and then with those, you know, Rochester and some of the more northern suburbs certainly thrown in.
Yeah, it's interesting what's happened on the Woodward corridor. I remember, Christian, back in the day. You probably remember this because we're about the same age. You're older though, I know that. I know that back in the day when you used to walk down Royal Oak, I don't know if you remember a place called Brazil's. It was a coffee shop, and the Royal Oak was a much different place, right? And it was not a place people wanted to live. Let's be fair, right? It was a place where people rented, and then kind of seedy. I liked it because I was a seedy person back then. But you know, it definitely, now it's families. You got strollers, you got schools, you got like high rises. It has changed dramatically. But to your point, unless you go up, you just nowhere else to go, right?
Yeah. Royal Oak has obviously had tremendous growth over the last 10, 15, 20 years. It's so, I mean, look at how even the skyline of Royal Oak has changed. And just in the last 3 or 4 years, when I look off of my balcony, there's so many new buildings, tall buildings, parking structures, just so many changes. And I think in some ways, and not everyone wants to hear this, and this may not be a popular opinion, but I think Royal Oak in some ways will turn into a Birmingham long term. I think there's going to be, it's going to be Birmingham-like. And I think that, Ferndale is going to turn into more of a Royal Oak. And where's the next Ferndale? Is it the Hazel Park? Is it Oak Park? My bet is maybe that it's going to be Hazel Park, but that's going to be an interesting progression, I think, to watch over the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it is interesting to watch these other emerging markets kind of play off the Royal Oak like growth. What's interesting too, Brad, Sal, anybody? Rents. I just saw a stat yesterday that rents in Metro Detroit have actually gone down. Like people, the rental market isn't garnering as much as it used to potentially, and I don't know why that is. If people are still looking for homes. I don't know. Are more people looking to buy now instead of renting all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Is that why rents are going down? My buddy has a rental. He had a hard time getting people to rent his place because it was hard to show it. He had to clean it. They didn't, people might not want to rent somebody else's house that they were in before. Is that what we're seeing, or are we seeing kind of something else happening here where people are just deciding to buy or stay at home or stay where they're at? I don't know what's going on with the rental market. It's interesting.
I think it's partially back to what you said earlier about that sector of people that don't typically buy a house right now, they're more likely to rent, right? It's the hospitality service industry. The people that got laid off in mass numbers, those people are more likely to rent. They don't have the income. They're not going to be able to get
that's
lease,
a great
right?
point. That's a great point. Yeah, that's the popular. I mean, that probably that unemployment number probably affected renters more than it did.
100% it did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably very, very true. Very, very true. Christian, for you, what do you, as far as what's interesting about your business is your marketing strategy is just, like word of mouth. You've done some build, you've done, you're not like the guy that's all over the place. Is that a conscious strategy, or are you someone that's looking to do it differently? Are you just so busy that you can't do much, or do you have a plan of growth, or are you good where you're at? Like who is Christian going to be 2 years from now?
I still ask myself that all the time. I think it's a work in progress, to be really honest with you. But I am tremendously satisfied with where I am currently. To be honest, would I like to grow more? Would I like to see my volume sales numbers go up? Absolutely. I happen to work an outrageous number of hours, so I'm not excited to see those hours. I'm not sure those hours can go up further, quite honestly. So I think I'm kind of tapped out hours wise. I also I like to flip houses. I own a fair number of rentals and commercial space, and so there are other things I do within the real estate industry that I think are really fun for me, that I enjoy doing, that are complementary to my normal business. And what's kind of cool about also having some of these other things that I get into is that it's an outlet for creativity. Flipping a house, designing a house, trying to come up with really great finishes. That's a ton of fun for me, and it kind of complements what I hear when I'm out there showing houses. I hear feedback from buyers all day long. I wish this house had this, or I wish the kitchen was laid out this way, or I wish it had something different. And it's just really cool to be able to take those items and actually implement them. But long term, I do see my business growing further, and I just hope that I grow at a reasonable pace, because I think I've seen over the years some of my competitors, when they've grown at too fast of a pace, they're actually losing their core values. I think they're losing their ability to operate effectively on behalf of their clients. So if I experience growth, I want it to be at a reasonable rate where we can service people in the way that we always have, and the way that they're actually accustomed to, and exactly what they deserve. Yeah,
Brad and Sal, I know we've seen that where you push the growth so hard that and even we, like I was talking to Brad yesterday, like we're pushing our growth, and there is a fear, and I was telling Brad this yesterday. It's like I feel like I believe in organic growth. Like you've got to earn the right to go the next step, right? We're at a point right now where we're implementing a lot of things, and it feels like I'm so terrified of losing the client experience, our core values, all that stuff, because as you grow, you get new challenges, and they don't, like if you want to grow, it's not just one more challenge. It's like 100 more challenges that you've got to accomplish to get to the next level, right? It's not just like, oh, if I do this one thing, we'll get to the next level. No, the next level is like 20 things, right? And then level after that's 100 things. And the next level of that is 1,000 things, right? And then when you get to the size of like Matt Ishbia or like Dan Gilbert, he's got 1 billion things he's got to work on, right? So it's good that you have that mentality, because I think a lot of people just want to just pay into it and just hire people and grow, but they lose a lot out of that. So what do you think about this? Oh, go ahead. It doesn't.
There's a fine line of pushing it too hard, right? I mean, in anything, in any business, or even like sports or racing or whatever, right? If you go, you can push the gas all the way to the floor, but eventually you're going to spin out, right? So you got to just keep it on the curb of essentially doing your best, right? And making sure that those clients realize that.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine, because I'm so sometimes it's running so fast, and I'm trying to get everything done. I'll say that my buddy said this to me the other day. He goes, dude, sometimes you got to go slow to go fast. And I was like, man, that goes against a lot of what I believe, but he's right. Sometimes you got to just slow down to be able to put all the pieces together. Right. So let me ask you this. What do you think about this whole Quicken Loans going public thing? Have you had any thoughts on that? I think it's an interesting topic. I don't know why they're doing it. I reached out to Bob Walters. He didn't tell me. So, you know what I mean? Like, he was like, nah, man, we'll talk later. But I mean, it is an interesting thing, Christian, because they're not cash poor. They don't need cash. In my opinion, my understanding is they don't need capital. They're printing money right now. It's not like an IPO of a startup that's coming out. This is a mature #1 lender in the country that has a lot of technology, that has a lot of capital. Why the fuck would they need to go public? Why do they need more capital? Or is it a cash out for Dan, do you think?
Such a good question. #1 we're all assuming they're going public. Let's see. I think, to me, it seems like a great time to cash out. I don't think there's a ton of interesting IPOs out there currently. I think the stock market is doing extremely well. I don't think that the current administration is going to allow the stock market to have any major hiccups before the election. So why not come out with an IPO right now and cash out? I mean, I think it's a pretty smart move. What do you guys think?
Well, cash out, but what do you mean, Christian? I mean, here's the thing. So Quicken now, if I'm Dan Gilbert, right? Quicken now is basically running itself. Dan's not in the day-to-day operations, and he's got a money printing machine that just puts money in his bank account every fucking day, every minute of every day, right? He's getting money in his bank account. He's not like he's not making money, right? He's already a billionaire, right?
I think that it probably just comes down to the mentality of probably why he's done everything. And the question isn't why. The question is why not? That's just
maybe. But maybe he's just fucking bored, and he's never done an IPO and wants to do one before he dies. Fuck.
No, he did go IPO. He did an IPO with Rock. He did. So just so you know that. Yeah, he did. And then he sold the company for $450 million and bought it back for $69. I mean, that's what happened. So, but what I'm saying is I was part of, I was there in 2003 to 2008, and Dan always was very staunch on, we will never go public. We are not public. We're not going public. We are a private company. We are a private company. He was very big on that. And he was also notoriously private about his numbers, right? He wouldn't release his revenue numbers or his closed numbers. He always wanted to keep that close to the breast, right? So it's interesting to me, because now if you go public, you got to answer to your investors, huh? Right? I don't think that. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this. Fine, they're going public for what? Is the company the same company coming now that it's public, and there's shareholders and there's boards and there's people, you got to open up your books, and you've got to, everything's being scrutinized. Is Quicken the same company with the same kind of soul, or does it kind of get sold? Are you selling your soul to the soul to the devil at that point? I guess I don't know. Do you guys think the company will be the same?
I think it's the same. I don't think anyone that's any kind of shareholders or anything. They're not going to try to fuck with what's already, like you said, already printing money daily, already profitable. It's its own bank. Like, you're not going to try to fuck with that. You're just you want to invest in it and cash out. Like,
Brad, and with all due respect, I know that you're thinking that, but you weren't, like, you never really were there for long periods of time. The culture of the company is one of high level sales, hammering people, a lot of pressure. Right. Yeah. But when you start going corporate, to the point where you're an IPO, rules of engagement with your people, with the client, it all changes. Right. You're not going to have Jay Farner going around with the beer cart throwing beers to people when you know what I mean. It changes kind of the mentality, I think, of the company. I mean, who knows, dude? I don't know. And then here's the other thing, right? You got
yeah. I don't think.
Yeah, I get it. Anymore. I get it. But here's the other. Let me ask you this: what about Rock
anymore?
I get it. But my point is, okay, so Quicken goes IPO, but now you have Rock Holdings, Quicken Wholesale, you have all these ancillary companies that are now disconnected from the Quicken brand on some level. What happens to all that, Christian? What happens to the bedrock? What happens to all that stuff?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you also, I would assume there's some good systems in place, but also, is it going to change the direction of downtown, midtown, New Center possibly?
Yes. Right.
You know, is there going to be as much focus on developing those areas? You know, there was already a pullback with the Hudson site. It was the tallest building in Detroit. It's no longer the tallest building in Detroit. It may not even be as tall as the RenCen now. You know, what other changes are coming? But I think what a lot of people have always said is that the corporate culture at Quicken was really cool or fun. I know people work tremendously hard at Quicken. They're insane hours to be a mortgage banker there, but it was a really fun culture from what a lot of my friends said. And I wonder too, are they going to be able to maintain it? It's a publicly traded company to be able to do those things, and I think they probably want to figure out some way to hang on to some of those core values, even in light of potential shareholder concerns, because I think that's what made the company attractive, and that's what made people want to work there.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what comes up. And to your point, I believe there are implications for downtown Detroit. They were the biggest investor, the biggest real estate holder in downtown Detroit. They've done a lot of amazing things. They've revitalized the area. We got more technology companies coming down. People were excited about Detroit, and I do worry. And we all love that, right? No matter whether you love or hate Quicken or whatever, you got to love what's happened to the downtown. Every time you go down there, something else is going on. It's changed quite a bit, especially since we were a kid, Christian. Going down there, but it's like. It'll be interesting to see if there is some type of shake-up from a rock venture type mentality. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. They might not even go IPO, to your point, Christian. They might be just setting it up and saying, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we don't, right? Who knows? So Christian, we're going to do 3 questions. This is where we do 3 randomized questions for Christian Grothe that they all come out of my head or one of these heads. So you ready for that?
Okay.
All right. First question that we always ask any new guest is, what scares Christian Grothe? What do you fear?
God, what do I fear? That is a great question. It actually takes a minute to kind of figure that out. I think fear for me is what was interesting in the first few weeks of COVID. My fear was not being able to work. And then the funny part is, I'm being brutally honest here. My next fear was going back to work, which I never thought I would have that fear. But yeah. I'll tell you, after, it was the first time since the age of 16 probably where I've not worked an insane amount of hours, days, nights, weekends. And so one of my fears right now might actually be, can my motivation level stay where it usually is? I know that my work hours certainly are, but once you've tasted freedom through this whole COVID thing, and really sitting at home and spending time and actually letting your mind idle occasionally, which it hasn't in 20 plus years, it was kind of neat to see. So I think maybe that's something that I'm still working out in my own mind currently.
I'm glad you had that experience, because I actually worked harder than I've ever worked during COVID. I feel like, and I'm having a hard time slowing down.
For you guys, it was the whole refi boom. So I think it was a really like you guys were crazy during COVID.
We didn't take applications.
Yeah, I mean,
we stopped taking refinance applications.
Each lender had a different landscape, I'd say, right? Like some of the lenders raised their rates to hedge the risk of layoffs and things of that sort. They didn't want refis, right? So we kind of shut down ourselves for like 2-3 weeks, right? We did purchases and got everything done. But for me, I mean, it was nice. I kind of like just sitting back and waking up and not worrying about, you know, a million things going on and clear to closes and CDs and all that. It was nice to just kind of sit back and relax, man. I wish we could do that once a year.
It was hell.
I think we should, you know, Christian, I would love to have quarantine done once a year for 3 weeks or 2 weeks every single year, because I think there was a beauty to it, man. We got to spend time with our fam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do quarantine without all the extra risk and.
Yeah, I think quarantine shed a lot of light on it, gave a lot of people different perspective, and I think our world is potentially better because of it. Honestly, like, I know there's, you know, that's a weird thing to say, but there was a beauty to it for sure. All right, next question is: if you could spend one whole week in another human's body as them, who would it be and why?
Oh, another great question. So that actually goes, I would have to pick one of my corporate heroes. I would pick Warren Buffett, hands down. That one's actually easy for me to answer.
Got it.
I would be fascinated to learn is, and I know his track record in the very recent history, you know, going into the airline industry very heavily in the last, 6, 8, 10, 12 months wasn't a great choice. But looking at his lifetime track record, I would be really curious to see how he evaluates businesses, how he learns about an organization, how he helps to shape an organization. But just being in his mind and understanding how he looks at a deal, to me, would be absolutely fascinating.
That'd be fascinating.
And then also to have those resources, to even have the opportunity to probably be approached by so many people with great opportunities, like Warren Buffett, I think, is on a whole nother level in that regard. I think that would be fascinating to see.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I would agree with that. You guys have one.
Should I have picked like a Hollywood movie star and see what that whole thing is like? Maybe
Christian, you get one. I mean, you get one answer, and you pick yours. I would have picked. Yeah, you could pick the knowledge over the sex. That's good. I totally get it. That's a smart guy. And then you guys have any questions for the third one or no? I have one, but if you don't, you're fine.
Go with yours.
All right. If you could be one animal in the animal kingdom, what would it be and why? Why would you want to be that animal?
Hands down, a lion. My astrological sign is a Leo, so I think there's a natural connection there. I would want to be. I like that. Yes. I'd want to be the king of the jungle. I want to be the predator, not the prey. So
but do you want to fight other lions for your girls? I mean, that's the only problem with being a lion is you got to worry about the other lion that wants your girls, your harem of lionesses.
Yeah, that might be a lot of drama to deal with. I think one would probably be enough. That's enough of a challenge.
Christian Grothe turns into a lion and only has one lioness. He's like, I'm good. That's all I need.
But I mean, now I need to know what are all of your animals?
Oh shit! I forget. I think Brad was a lemur.
Man, I'd probably be like a hawk or something. I mean, think how awesome it'd be to just sit where you're at right now and then be able to fly like thousands of feet high.
I'd be a bat. That way I couldn't get COVID.
A bat?
I'd be like a sea turtle.
If I'm a bat, you can't get COVID, right? I'm good. A sea turtle? Yeah, you would be a very good sea turtle.
Live for like 150 years and just chill out in like in the sea, man.
Don't you think it'd be interesting to be like a whale or something along those lines? They can like travel the waters, and it's a whole different world that you'll like. It's like an alien world, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a dolphin, I'd like to be a dolphin. Super smart animal, swims through the sea, just cackles all the time, and has friends. It's awesome.
People
Right?
are cheering you on from all the random boats. I mean, that's not a bad life.
No.
One last question, actually, for you, Christian. And this is just the third one I just thought about. If you could pick one other profession that you did on a day, and not something ancillary or an investment or anything like that, I'm talking one thing, and you're no longer doing real estate. If there was one other profession that you dedicated your time to, what else would it be?
One other, God, I would, this is kind of cheesy, but there's really two that come to mind. I would be a pilot or I'd be a race car driver. I would go with all my boy dreams right there. That would be it. I really like airplanes. I love cars. So that's 100% what I'd be doing. If I was not real estate selling, real estate investing, any of those things, I think that would be it. And I think it would be a ton of fun to be a pilot, to get to fly to all the different places and work with some cool airplanes. And I think that would be a ton of fun.
Yeah. Little known fact of Christian Grothe, he also loves electronic music. Loves electronic music.
Yeah. And nowadays being a pilot, it's not like I would want to be a pilot on like an old school airplane. I don't want those airplanes that land themselves and all that stuff. I want to fly like, something that
like
still
a Cessna?
involves some real pilot input. Yeah.
Like a Cessna.
Yeah, bigger than that. Like I would want something larger than a Cessna. If that's what
you want propellers or
you
want jets? You want propellers or do you want jets? Propellers or jets? Propellers or jets?
Jets, hands down.
Got it. Okay.
There's no better sound than that thing spooling up, for sure.
Have you ever gotten in the cockpit and been like in the passengers? No, have. Did you take controls?
Yeah, actually, for a short while, almost had my pilot's license. Unfortunately, lost my aviation medical due to a hole in my heart. So I would have been a great pilot, but my heart did not play along.
Oh, Christian, you have a hole. Who caused the hole in your heart, Christian?
I know. People always
do we need to talk? Hey, I've got another podcast called Emotions Are Us, and we'll talk about that.
That's good. This can be a late night section.
Yeah, we'll do like pillow talk, right? Like that almond guy. Listen, Christian, dude, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate you being on the show. You're one of the before I had met you, I had known your name, and I was like, oh, you always think of someone, you don't know them until you meet them, and I was very, very, very pleasantly surprised what a great human you were, first and foremost, when we did meet. You've got a great head on your shoulders. You've got a great brain. And I think anybody that has an opportunity to work with you is very fortunate because you know your shit and you're a good human. So I appreciate you doing the podcast. Can you tell the audience how to get a hold of you, man, if they want to like talk to you about real estate or anything else? Because I know that you're pretty open and you answer your phone. So that's good.
Definitely. First of all, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for having me. You guys always do a great job out there. You've done a great job for some of my clients. I really appreciate it. The best way to reach me, cell phone 248-979-1900. Also my website, christiangrothe.com. Check those out. Anyone out there who would like any help buying, selling a house, talking about real estate investments, if you just want to chat about how the market is, I would always love to talk and take some time to get to know more people and maybe help them out in the future.
Awesome, man. Christian, thank you so much. Guys, stay on the line. We're going to chat a little bit after Christian leaves. But Christian, thank you so much, man. We'll talk soon. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you, bro.
Have a good
Thanks, man. See ya.
Smart guy, dude. Smart guy, right? I mean, we've had chances to talk to him, and I've talked to him on the phone. Sal, I know you've done a few deals with him. I know he appreciated the deal that you did with him, and it's kind of funny. He's one of those guys that you hear about, but he's not. You don't kind of like see him all over the place. And then when you actually meet him, I think I was really like impressed by how smart the dude is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you get to where on the level he's at without being smart, right? I think there's a lot of smart people in this business, and sometimes, at least like as a real estate agent, right, or a mortgage guy or whatever, sometimes there's other people who give like a bad rap almost to like the intelligence of someone who is in that business, but I think it's far from the truth, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm all over social a lot of times and whatever, like, so I'm doing a lot of that stuff. But sometimes the best agents, the best loan officers are the ones that you don't hear yelling from the rooftops. They're the ones working, like you, Sal, right? You're not yelling from the rooftops, hey, I'm a loan officer. Hey, look at me. Hey, come call me. Ultimately, you're just doing good work. And you might not be the most like visible guy. Obviously, we do this. But I'm just saying, you're not out there all the time pushing your business. You're just doing your thing and build a reputation. I think he's kind of the same way. I think there's a lot of agents out there that aren't all over social media, all over billboards, all over everything that are very, very fucking good at their job. They do a lot of referral work, and they don't need to do a lot of that stuff. So it's interesting to be able to talk to someone that is as successful as him, that you don't kind of see all over the place that a lot of other people you do, right? So that's interesting. So anything else, guys? Before we go?
Nope. Got a lot of work to do.
All right. Again, guys, we got tons of work to do. So the audience, thank you again. Stitcher, irepodcast.com. Go to our webpage. We love you all. Thank you for all listening. It means a ton to us. Please message us. If you have a message, go to our Facebook /IRE podcast, or message us on our website. And if you guys want to be on the show and you've listened to the show before, reach out to us. We'll be willing to put a lot of smart people on the show as long as you've got something to add to the audience. So love you guys. I'm working from home today, boys, so I will see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right. See you.
All right, guys. Bye.